Hey guys, in this video we're going to take a look at swapping out the internal speaker within the Escort Redline. The Redline itself is an awesome radar detector. It does a fantastic job. It's a fantastic detector all the way around. It's one of the best on the market. Everything, has kind of its pros and cons. Nothing is perfect. And one of the few issues with the Redline is that the internal speaker inside the detector can actually blow if you run the detector at full volume or close to full volume. The speaker is actually located in here, and over time, if you run the Redline with the volume cranked all the way up, it can actually blow the speaker. And what happens is if you run it loud for a little while, the sound may eventually actually get distorted and then eventually blow. The speaker will blow and it goes totally silent. This actually happened to me during testing, and fortunately I actually had a camera pointed right at the detector when the speaker blew. So if you want to actually see that video, I'm going to go ahead and post a video that you can click on the screen, or go into the video description, click on the link there, and you'll go ahead and get to see the speaker actually blowing. So you can see what it's like. But just to go ahead and illustrate it real quick, we'll go ahead and plug in the Redline here, and you'll get to see the issue that I'm talking about. So go ahead and let it power up. So you'll notice we didn't actually get any beeps on startup. If we go ahead and try changing the volume here on the Redline, see we've got full volume. Go ahead and crank the volume back down. And it should actually be beeping, but we're not getting anything. If we go ahead and trigger the detector with radar, that's the issue right there. You can see it still detects radar just fine and it can display it on the screen, but because the speaker is blown, you're going to get no audio alert whatsoever. So that's the issue. And what we're going to go ahead and do here is swap out the busted speaker with a replacement. The one that I got here, I ordered off eBay. It cost about $8 or so. You can also just contact Escort directly and they'll send you one for free. I would recommend going with the Escort route. It's a little bit better matched for the detector. This speaker will still just work, it'll still work just fine. Haven't heard any reports of any issues, but it's probably easier. Just go with the Escort solution if need be. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and talk about the update process. Once I actually finish doing the speaker swap, at the end of the video, I'm going to talk to you and give you a little bit of additional information about some additional solutions that you can do in case the speaker blows, or maybe to also help prevent it. Basically, the idea is run it at about maybe 70% volume or less. Avoid running it close to 100% volume, and also enable the auto mute feature so that you'll get the initial loud alert, and then after a couple seconds it backs off to a reduced volume. That'll also help. And then we'll also get into a little bit more about the external speaker plug right there. But anyways, yeah, we'll cover all that kind of stuff at the end once we do the actual speaker swap. So what's involved with swapping the speaker? It's actually really easy to do. It's not a big deal at all, and pretty much anybody can do it. Basically what we're going to want to do here is we've got 4 screws on the bottom of the detector here. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to remove those screws, and then we're going to pop off the bottom of the Redline. It's going to go ahead and expose the PCB, the printed circuit board, with all the circuitry underneath. We're going to remove a little ribbon cable. We're going to pop out the guts of the Redline. And then the speaker, it's actually located right there. And what we're going to actually want to do is unplug the speaker, pull it out, pop in the new speaker and plug the new one back in, and then just put all the pieces back together. Really simple. Just open it up, pull out the old speaker, put the new one back in, and close it back up. So the process itself is going to be really simple. And I want to thank 1225 KPH on the Escort forums for actually posting photos and a step-by-step guide as far as exactly how to do this. So, big thank you to you. One difference that I noticed is he said with his Redline, he actually needed I believe it was a number 8 Torx screwdriver. With mine, it's just Phillips screws right here. And so all I'm really going to need is just this Phillips screwdriver here, and it's going to work just fine. But, your Redline may be different. So with that said, let's go ahead and just get started and run through the whole process from start to finish of swapping out a blown speaker on the Redline. Okay, so we've gone ahead and removed the 4 screws from the bottom of the detector, and we'll go ahead now and pull off the bottom casing. It's just a flat piece of plastic. Go ahead and remove it. And now we've got the internals of the Redline connected, or exposed. So let's go ahead and take a look here at the different parts that are going to be relevant for the speaker swap here. The speaker itself is actually located right there. You can see there's the speaker, and it has this black rubber piece right here surrounding the speaker that the speaker actually sits inside. The speaker is plugged in right there, and this is the cable that actually runs down. So that's where the speaker is actually located. So it's this area right here. What we're going to need to do, you can see the speaker is actually tucked back behind there and the cable goes back there. So we're going to go ahead and want to remove this whole part of the Redline. It's not screwed in or anything, so you're not going to have to remove any screws. The only thing that you're going to want to do is actually disconnect this ribbon cable right here. On the other side here, it's actually the different buttons, like the power button, the mute button, sensitivity. So we're going to want to go ahead and disconnect this cable so that we can remove this central area. Now the way to do that, there are two little kind of locking mechanisms, one right here, one right there. You can disconnect the ribbon cable from either side, but what I found playing around with it a little bit, it's actually a little bit easier to disconnect it from this side. Again, no big deal, you can do it from either side, but I found that one's a little bit easier. Now what you're going to want to do is you got this little brown piece of plastic right there, and we're going to want to just actually push it away a little bit. You see how it opens up like that and unlocks? That's it. It doesn't actually remove entirely. It just opens up just a tiny bit to actually allow you to pull out this ribbon cable right here. There we go. And now that we've done that, we've actually disconnected this ribbon cable. And now we can actually remove this whole section of the Redline from the rest of the shell. So we'll just carefully go ahead and drop it out. And you'll see it just comes out just like that. So looking at the top area here, we've got the horn for the Redline. We've got, forget which one it is, I have to take a look. One's for X-band, one's for K and KA. But anyways, without getting into all that, we've got our display here, and here is the actual speaker. So speaker's tucked on that side. You can see it's not really accessible from this side because you've got the big metal horn right there. So we're going to go ahead and flip this guy back over. And here's what we're looking at. Okay, perfect. All right, so here's our speaker. Now what we can go ahead and do is before we go ahead and do everything, we can actually unplug the old speaker, plug the new one in to verify that it works, and then we'll go ahead and continue with the process. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll go ahead and unplug the speaker. It's this little plastic piece right there. Just pull it out and it comes right out. Really, really simple. One thing that I actually do want to show you before we plug in the next speaker is I want to point out this little half moon cutout right there. There's kind of these like little bite mark things, and then right in front of it there's that half moon cutout. That's actually the point where if you plug the cable in, I'll go ahead and plug it back in real quick. See how the cable actually fits into that area? That's important. That way this part right here is nice and flush and it'll fit right into the shell neatly without the cable getting pinched against the edge. So that's actually what that's for, and that's going to come in handy once we swap in the new cable. So that's going to be that sort of round section right there. So here's our replacement cable. Now, the way the connector works, it actually only fits in one way. So if you put it in upside down, it's not going to go in. It also won't damage anything, but you're not going to want to, push it in crazy hard and break anything. A good way to check is, take a look at the older one. But what you're going to see is with the connectors for the actual, well, there's a couple pins here on the connector that you can see. Those are actually going to go face down. And then if we flip it over, this side right here is actually nice and flat, and that's the way that we're going to want to actually push it in. So it just kind of goes right in there and really simple. So now that that's done, let's actually go ahead and plug the Redline back in and just verify that our speaker is working properly now. So this, let's see. Look at that. All right, Redline. Look at that. Okay, perfect. So our beeps are working again. That's awesome. Since we do actually have the, you can see right here. Let me line it up so you guys can see on camera. But remember how we actually disconnected this ribbon cable? The ribbon cable connects to these buttons right here. We've got power, volume, and sensitivity. So we're not actually going to be able to adjust the volume or anything because we have actually disconnected the buttons. But that is no big deal. We don't need that for now. We can still see if we go ahead and trigger the detector, we'll still get the audio alerts. Awesome. So that's what we want to see. The new speaker definitely is working, and that's exactly what we want. So since it's working, we'll go ahead and unplug the Redline again. And we're like, yay, new speaker works. And we're going to go ahead and just unplug it real quick. And now we're going to want to go ahead and physically remove the old speaker so that we can put the new speaker in place. Now here's how that's going to work. A couple things to point out. First of all, the speaker itself is held in this kind of soft rubber casing right here. The speaker, I don't know how well you can see it on camera, but it's actually not parallel with the PCB. It's actually sitting at a slight angle, kind of a 45-degree angle like this. So see if I can get it to show up. But you see how the speaker, it's actually sitting at an angle? That's something that we're going to want to see, and not too big of a deal. You can't really get it wrong, but it's just kind of something good to keep in mind. Now, there are a couple ways that we can actually remove the speaker. We can actually kind of pull it up this way, or we can push it down that way. I've tried doing it both. You can do it either way, but what I found is a little bit easier to actually do in practice is to actually push it down through that way. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. Now, the way to do that, we do have kind of these pieces right here. What I found kind of works decently well is we're going to take these and we're going to kind of just push them in like this. That way they're not pushing against the wall here. We're just going to actually tuck them down underneath. Actually, let's do this so hopefully you guys can see a little bit. But you see how they're actually sticking up above that? We're actually just going to want to push them down underneath like that. That's what we're going to do. Maybe it'll show up a little bit better at this angle. We're just going to push that in. And it's just really soft rubber. You're not going to damage it or anything. It's no big deal. And then it just kind of comes right out like this. See that? So just kind of carefully work it. We don't obviously want to break anything, so being nice and gentle with it. And it just comes right out. So no big deal. There's our speaker removal. There's no like hard plastic or anything. It's just soft rubber, so it'll come out fairly easily. So great. There's our speaker removed. So awesome. Now what we're going to want to do is actually remove the speaker itself from this soft rubber housing. So we'll just kind of remove the housing, the rubber, and we'll pull the speaker out. Perfect. So we'll go ahead and set the Redline off to the side a little bit. And let's take a look at the different parts that we have. So we've got the rubber housing, which obviously we're going to reuse. And then we've got the two different speakers. The speakers are, same thing, same dimensions and everything, so they'll work just fine. You'll notice the Redline factory speaker actually has a twisted cable, which is actually really handy, and you'll see why here in just a minute. The one that I got off eBay has this straight cable, which makes it a little bit longer. Yeah, and then also if we take a look at the back side of the speakers, we've got two speakers here. Here's the part numbers. If you're curious, let me get a little bit closer so we can read that. It says PUI 12D AS 2832MR-LWC63-3-R China. So cool. So with that said, we're going to take the Escort speaker. We're going to set it aside. And we've got now our replacement speaker. So what we want to go ahead and do is slide it into place. So let's see, which side was up? It was like this, right? Yeah. Put it in. Okay. And there are little grooves inside this kind of rubber piece, so it should pretty much just kind of slide into place, right into position. Just kind of fiddle with it. Let's see if it's not popping out or anything. So I don't want to necessarily like push down on the face too much because it is designed to vibrate right there, but the back side is metal, so. Okay, so it looks like it's fitted into position quite well. Looking good there. And then pretty simple. Now we're just going to want to go ahead and slide this whole piece back into the Redline. Again, you can come up from this way, or you can come down that way. I've tried both, and I found coming down from the top is actually a little bit easier, so that's what we're going to go ahead and do. So, kind of push it in like this, so that that can actually, and I want to make sure you guys can see too, but basically we're just going to adjust it so this actually goes down underneath there, like this. Hopefully that's showing up on camera. either way, you can see, just kind of play with it. It's soft rubber, you're not going to break anything. So just play with it, make sure it fits right in there. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and just gently push it into position. Yep. Okay. Very nice, doing great so far. There we go. Very nice, good job. Okay, just going to inspect everything, make sure it looks and feels good. It's all locked into position. Perfect, so there we go. And again, just going kind of slowly because we don't want to like force anything or mash it, you know? We want it all to work well, to look good, to feel good. Making sure everything here is going to be good. All right, nice. Nothing's caught, nothing's twisted, so great. So just verifying everything is in position properly, so perfect. So now we're going to go ahead and just plug our speaker back in. Same as before, we're going to want to make sure those two pins right there, you see those? We're going to make sure those are actually pointed down. And the way it is kind of notched, so it will not actually go in if you put it in upside down. So again, not too big of a deal, but good to know what way it is designed to go in. So this one, we're going to want to go ahead and make sure now that the cable slides into position, into that little round area right there. You can see it is kind of sticking out a little bit. Because it's not twisted, it's actually a little bit longer, so we can just kind of tuck it a little bit more, and it should work out just fine. So, great. So now that we've got that, we're going to go ahead and grab our Redline case here, flip it over. And also, something that I didn't do before, it does make it a little bit easier. You don't have to do this, but I've done it a couple other times, is the lens actually slides right in and out. And so you could actually remove the lens that goes in front of the two horns. If you want, it could make it a little bit easier. Not necessary, but good to see and good to know. So, okay, we'll go ahead and slide this guy back into position, and we're going to keep an eye out here for this cable. Make sure it doesn't pinch, and make sure it is tucked in neatly. There we go. It just drops right into place, no big deal. See that? Okay. Oh, nice. Looks like we do have a little bit of slack there, so everything's good. Perfect. Okay. So looks like it is going a little bit longer this time, but that should be just fine. You can see we do have a little bit of a gap there, so it's not going to be too big of a deal. So that's good news. Okay. So we've got our ribbon cable here, and now we're going to actually want to drop it underneath this little latch right there. So we're just going to pull it back a little bit. Luckily, ribbon cables are flexible. And we're just going to slide it right into position. And once it's nice and flat there, feels good, take this and we're going to pull it back. And that locks it into place. So there we go. Now it's locked. Perfect. Take our lens. Let's see. Which way does it go? This way. This way. Nope. This way. Yep. See the two lenses, they line up like that. Okay. All right, and there we go. Now we're done. So we've got our Redline. The repair is complete, and that's it. So now that it's all set, let's go ahead and just plug it back in, test it, make sure everything is working just fine. Okay, a little bit loud. Go ahead and back the volume down a little bit.
Audio maximum.
Okay, back it down a little more. That went up. There we go. Perfect.
Audio maximum.
Sorry, I know my hand's kind of in the way there. Maybe this way. Okay, cool. So there you go. You can see our new speaker is working great. Our audio has returned, and if we hit it with radar,
K8 and
speaker is working well again, just fine. So perfect. Perfect. There we go. Really simple and easy fix. As you can see, all it really involves is popping open the bottom of the Redline, and then removing the old speaker, putting the new one back in, putting the case back on, and there you go. You've fixed the Redline. So really simple and easy to do yourself. Again, if you have an issue with this, you can always send it back into Escort, and they can do it for you. If you'd like to do it for yourself, there you go. There's the whole process from start to finish. Now, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about a couple things that you can do to avoid this from happening in the first place. Like I said earlier, rather than running the detector at full volume, you could actually back the volume down a little bit to maybe 70% or less. Additionally, running the auto mute feature will really help. And like I said earlier, what that does is basically run the detector at full volume for a couple seconds when you get an alert, and then automatically pull down the volume, auto mute, right, after a couple seconds, and lower the volume so you can still hear everything, but it's not still blaring and screaming full volume the whole time. So that will also help with the lifespan of the speaker. That said, that's not always going to be an option. Like I drive, convertible. If I've got top down, the music up, like I need a louder detector to so that I can hear it when I'm driving around, right? So that's one of the reasons I like having a visual display, is that's a nice backup. A nice other option that you've got here with the Redline is on the side you have a plug for a speaker. You've got the power cable right here, looks like a phone jack, and then right next to it you have a plug for an external speaker. So let's talk about this real quick. This is going to work, of course, even if your speaker is blown. You can also use it as an alternative to the normal speaker. It's really handy for motorcycle users, for example. Driving around, maybe plug that into your helmet. Some sort of, like Bluetooth headphones are really popular. Plug it in there, and you'll be able to hear the detector without actually relying on the internal speaker. So that's a great solution. Something to keep in mind about the speaker jack. This is a mono speaker jack, not a stereo speaker jack. What that means is, to give you an idea of, like when I plugged in my stereo headphones, you know how there's like right and left, they're two different channels? Because it's a mono jack, it only outputted to one ear in my headphones. So only one ear was actually working. It doesn't output to both. So something to keep in mind if you're looking for a speaker or some sort of headphones. You're going to want to actually look for a mono cable, not a stereo cable. I also have like an external speaker that requires a stereo jack, and I plugged it in and I noticed the volume was really, really low, and the issue, I believe, was it was actually listening to the channel that didn't have the main volume, the channel that was outputting really, really low. So even if I'd output the detector to full volume, it was outputting to it was listening to the muted channel, I think the right one. The left one is the loud one. Anyways, with all that aside, get yourself a mono cable if you're looking for something to plug into here, not a stereo cable, and that will help avoid further issues. But yeah, there you go. So there is a look at exactly how to replace the speaker here in the Redline, and as you can see, really, really simple. We just did the whole thing from start to finish. Like, it took me a couple minutes to do it, sit down and explain everything and show you, do this, do that, look here, look there. Doing it myself, I mean, you could do the whole thing in like 2-3 minutes, no big deal. It's just remove the bottom, pull out the old speaker, put in the new one, put the bottom back on. Yay, congratulations, you're done. So, yeah, just wanted to show you guys, exactly what it looks like from start to finish. So again, a big, big thank you to everybody on the forums who's helped provide this information. And I'm just here, sharing some additional information based on what I've seen. So for anybody else that's having this issue, there you go. There's exactly how to do it from start to finish. So hope that's been helpful, and I will see you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye.